Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. And our guest now is Mike Chamberlin, and he is the singing TV guy. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Barbara. I'm wonderful. I lived in Valencia many years ago. My wife and I bought our first home here. So
wonderful.
Back when real estate was cheaper, but so I haven't been up here in a while, so it's neat to come back, and I'm going to go visit a couple of my favorite restaurants that are still here. I see. So.
What are they?
What are they? One is called the Alamo, which is kind of in a strip mall over by the hospital, and then my favorite pizza is at Chi-Chi's.
Chi-Chi's Pizza. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah,
they
so
really
have.
Well, tell me, Mr. Music Guy, what do you do?
Well, can I give you a little history on me before I tell you that?
Please.
I was just hinting to you that I just retired from a 40-year career in broadcasting. I started out in radio, and then I spent 30 years as a TV news anchor and a sportscaster. And I was with ESPN for 10 years, and the last 20 years were in Phoenix, Arizona, at a CBS television station. And I retired about 5 years ago, and I've always had music in my life. When I was 17 years old, I was signed by Capitol Records. So,
wow,
I mean, I only say that.
17 years old.
Yeah, I was very young. We were in a rock and roll
17 years
band.
young.
17, yeah, well, then it was, yeah. But anyway, so that tells you music's been in my life. And when I retired, I said to the Lord, you gave me music, do with me what you will. And I thought maybe I could do 2 or 3 concerts a week or something. I don't know. Last month I did 38 concerts. So I'm doing 2 or 3 a day. But I sing a lot at retirement homes, at senior centers, community centers, mobile home parks, RV resorts. And it just started out, now it's all word of mouth, and it got to where I'm doing over 300 a year. So
that's incredible. And you know, being involved with seniors and playing and singing for them is so appreciated.
Well, I'm doing something now that I'm having so much fun with. I don't know if you know this. This is the 75th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack this year. Yes. 75 years ago this year. 70 years ago, the end of World War II. So we're losing 1,000 World War II veterans every day, and pretty soon they're going to be gone. If you were 20 in World War II, you're 90 today. So I'm so fearful that we're going to forget about them, that World War II will just be this thing that happened. Once they're gone, we'll just forget about it. Well, in my lifetime, I'm not going to let that happen. The only way I can do it is through music. So I do a show called Love Songs of World War II. Most beautiful songs ever written. I mean to tell you.
And you know what? You have a guitar here, don't you?
I do, and I'd be happy to sing one if you just tell me when.
Yes. What do you think?
You want to do it now?
Let's go.
Good.
Yes.
I'm going to grab it. I'm not sure how I'm in an awkward position here, but we can make this happen. So anyway, they're just beautiful songs, and this is one that I think is probably the most beautiful one that came out of World War II. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see.
Oh, yes.
There'll be joy and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see.
That was beautiful,
I don't know
Mike.
how that came across.
Oh, I was singing with you.
Well, I saw you over there. I love it.
because I saw the White Cliffs of Dover when I was a little girl because I lived in England during the war.
Oh, yeah,
the
you
Second
have some
World War.
English. I'll tell you a cute story. I sang that song at a concert, and a woman jumped up, an elderly woman, and she goes, "Mike, there are no bluebirds in England." And I said, "Really? Who knew?" And she goes, "The bluebirds they refer to in that song are the Royal Air Force planes. They used to paint their bellies blue to blend into the sky, so it was harder to shoot them down.
Right.
And when they landed at Dover, the people there referred to them as the bluebirds flying over the blue cliffs of Dover."
That's right. That's exactly right.
You know that,
Yes,
huh? Oh,
I
good.
know that.
Good.
It's very interesting because my parents used to take us to the cliffs, White Cliffs of Dover. And you imagine these massive, massive cliffs, totally white. As a little girl, that was what I imagined them as, but they really aren't.
Oh, they're brown like every other cliff. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Being English, does the name Vera Lynn mean anything to you?
Vera Lynn, I know the name, but I don't know.
Vera
the
Lynn is
implication.
perhaps the most popular English singer ever.
Yes,
She was
yes.
very popular in World War II, and
She used to sing with a uniform on.
right, well,
on many
Yeah,
occasions.
she would literally
Yes.
travel to the front lines
Yes.
and sing to the soldiers in World War
Yes.
II. And she's my
Lynn.
favorite singer of all time. I recorded a CD called Love Songs of World War II, and I actually dedicated it to Vera Lynn. I said, "This is dedicated to Vera Lynn, a popular singer in World War II. Somebody once said of Vera Lynn, her songs were so good in World War II that even the enemy liked them." And that's quite a compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
I wrote her a letter. She's still alive. She's 101 years old.
I know. It's
I wrote her a
amazing.
letter. She wrote a book. Maybe I'll sing a song for you. She wrote a song called "We'll Meet Again."
Yes.
And she wrote a book called "Some Sunny Day." The payoff is "We'll meet again some sunny day." And I read the book, and at the back of the book there was an address. I didn't know if this was her address or her publishing, but I felt compelled to write her a letter because she's my favorite singer. This was last year. She's 100 years old. And I wrote, "Dear Dame Vera Lynn, thanks for all you did for the boys," as she called them with quotes around it, the boys in World War II. And I said, "Thank you for sharing the most beautiful voice God ever gave a human being." And I mailed her the CD, and I sent a letter off. And 3 months later, I went to my mailbox, and she took the time to write me a letter. And she thanked me for remembering her. And she told me she sat with my CD with a cup of tea and a comfortable chair and went back to a time and a place she hadn't been for a while. So can you imagine that? I have it framed in my office. If my house burned down, I'd grab that before the dog. So.
You'd grab that along with your dogs.
Along with the dog in one
along
arm,
with
the
dog.
letter framed from Vera Lynn in the second one. She's
That
still
is
alive.
wonderful.
And at at
Yes.
the bottom of the letter, I really did this. I thought, I'm going to add a P.S. to this letter in handwriting. Now, she's 100 years old, and at the bottom of the letter, I wrote, "P.S. I think I'm a little bit in love with you."
Did you send it back to her?
What?
Your P.S. on her letter?
It was on the original one I sent
It
to
was.
her.
on the-
Yes, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Isn't that a cute story? Yeah.
That is. You don't hear those songs anymore.
You don't. That's why I'm trying to keep
really
them alive.
don't.
And they really are the most beautiful songs ever written. I mean, one after another. I mean,
Well, there's so much meaning to the words.
the lyrics meant everything, and they wrapped them around beautiful melodies. But it was those lyrics that just, I sang at since I've retired, I've done over 2,500 concerts, and the best one was last October at a World War II reunion on board the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California.
Oh my God.
And it was amazing. It was in the grand ballroom, and there were 1,000 people there. The World War II veterans, their children, their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. The ballroom was full, and some of the World War II vets actually had their uniforms on that night from World War II. When I was leaving, I walked by a gentleman, and he had on his Army uniform from World War II. And I said, "Sir, I got to tell you, I'm impressed that you can still fit into that uniform." And without missing a beat, his wife looked at me and she goes, "We had to let it out." She wouldn't let him have his moment.
That's funny.
It is. But there's a whole generation that we're about to lose from World War II.
Well, I'm not leaving anytime soon.
No, well, I hope you don't. You look younger than that generation. So, but but we're losing them, and that's why I'm doing these songs now while I can still sing to them. You know.
That's wonderful.
It's very
I'll be
important.
80 next month.
You're still
Yes.
a little bit. You
I'm
were
still younger. Yes.
You were
well,
barely born when World War II happened.
Yes,
so.
but I remember the war. I remember the sirens. I remember
Yeah.
the buzz bombs and having to go into the shelters down in the ground.
Yeah.
And then they did away with those, and we had to have them in our front room, in our living room. And they were the size of a king-size bed.
Yeah. Well, you
And
were
about this high, 2 feet, 2.5 feet from the ground.
Yeah. You were
Thick
there
steel.
to live history. I mean, you were there.
Oh.
Although as young as you really were, I'm surprised you remember it. But you were there for a very important part of history, especially where you were positioned in England.
Well, it's interesting. My father was in the Royal Navy, and when prior to Second World War starting out, he was the personal valet of King Edward, who abdicated the throne. And of course, after he was about to take the throne, was when my father lost his job. And I can remember very shortly thereafter the war started, and I can remember my father and mother and I and my brother was a tiny baby, and we lived in a flat in London. And I can remember my parents counting the money on the kitchen table, and I knocked off some of the coins. They fell on the floor and went down through the floorboard. And my father literally pulled up those
the floorboard
floorboards
apart, yeah.
to get that money, because money
Well,
was so tight. It's
there you
amazing.
have it. Yeah.
And
Well,
we need to take a break, and when we
Okay.
come back, you'll have to sing another song.
I would.
for us.
I'll sing a Vera Lynn song. for
Oh,
you.
wonderful. Thank you. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm Barbara Cochran on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Mike Chamberlin, singing TV guy. And are you going to sing again for us?
Would you like me to?
I would love it.
All right.
I think that's wonderful.
Grab my guitar and get positioned here.
Okay.
All right, this is a Vera Lynn song for you.
All right. Thank you.
Gosh, I'm hitting everything with this guitar. She recorded this at Grand Central Station in New York City as the American troops were getting on trains to go off and fight the war in Europe and the South Pacific. And in the middle of the song, all these male voices start to sing, and it was the soldiers.
Oh.
And I listen to that recording all the time, and when I hear those male voices, I realize that a lot of them never made it home.
Right.
That they died in World War II, that we have the freedoms and the opportunities that we have today. So anyway, this kind of went on to become the battle call of World War II, and what a beautiful song it is. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue sky drives the dark cloud far away. And won't you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know, as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. You remember that one, don't you?
Yes, I do remember that one.
That's a huge hit. I don't know an English person on earth that doesn't know that song.
Oh, I would agree. I would agree.
Isn't it beautiful?
That was both of those songs are beautiful.
Yeah, well, my whole concert is nothing but these beautiful love songs from World War II. I'm doing one this afternoon at Oakmont here.
Oh,
the
are
new
you?
retiree
Yes.
community. It's
Yes.
I call it the Ritz-Carlton of retirement homes. It's beautiful.
Margie Weiss.
Yes. And then I have a big, if anybody's down in Orange County or knows anybody in Orange County, I'm doing a huge concert this Saturday night at the Mission Viejo Civic Center. And and it's just remember lordofstrings.com. That's the concert series, lordofstrings.com, and if you know anybody down there, if you know any veterans get a 50% discount. The tickets are only $20 to start with, so $10 for all veterans.
Wow. And what kind of songs will you be singing then?
It is all love songs of World War II. You know what? Here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to hand you a picture. How many of you at home remember that famous cover from Life magazine in 1945?
Oh, my goodness.
The sailor and
Yes.
the nurse that were kissing on the street in Times Square. And that's kind of the logo to the whole concert, Love Songs of World War II. Did you see where she just passed away last week?
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that on the news.
Yeah. The gentleman's a different story, the sailor, because about 600 men came forward and said it was them. So they've never quite been able
No,
to
they
nail him
haven't.
down. But they were able to identify her years ago, and she just passed away this
That
past
is
week. Bless
wonderful.
her heart. So, yeah.
October 1.
Yeah, October 1st in
2016.
Mission Viejo.
Mission Viejo's
Love
Civic
songs of
Center.
World War II.
Oh,
Most
my
beautiful songs
goodness.
ever. And every song has a story
Yes.
attached. I'm not one of these singers that just gets up and sings. I tell a story to every song. Every story leads into a song. After these concerts, these World War II veterans come up to me, and they just feel compelled to tell me their story. And I sit and listen to them all night long as it takes, because their stories are so vivid and they remember them, and they've all been crying during the concert because these songs take them back to a certain time in their place, good or bad. And so that's the power of what music can do.
That's very true. That's very true. And turn music on if you're depressed or if you're angry or whatever, and the music will pull you out or help pull
I'll even
you
take you a
out.
step further. I sing at some Alzheimer's facilities. They don't even know when their children come to visit. They don't even know who they are, yet they know every word to every song I sing. There's something about music that gets into the creases of your mind up there. And not only do they remember the words, but I see them close their eyes and start smiling. I picked them up and took them back to a time and a place.
That's very true. And so many Alzheimer's patients do have long-term memories.
They have a
You
lot
know.
of short-term problems,
And
but long-term they can. But it's amazing. I mean, I just pick them up and I take them back, and they close their eyes. I see them smiling, and I know there's something going on inside there. You know, they're seeing something.
Oh,
you know.
yes, I can absolutely identify with that, especially with music being so soothing.
Well, I'm concerned about. You know, we're going to be okay, because when we eventually end up in a retirement home, Barbara, we're still going to have Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett. You know, we're going to have that. But these kids today that are going with rap and hip hop, I mean, I always say to these young people that work in the retirement homes, let's fast forward the clock for the heck of it. And we're going to fast forward it 60 years, and you're now 80 years old, and you're in a retirement home. What are they going to sing to you? Yo, mama, yo? I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to say? I mean, really.
That's very true.
I'm really hoping that somehow, like swing music or big band music makes a comeback, and that, you know, something saves them, you know, between now and then, because I just don't see it, you know.
Oh, I would agree with you. And I can't stand the music of today.
You know, I'm not ashamed to tell you too. It's not music, and
No,
you
it
can't
isn't.
understand the lyrics, and even if you could, you don't want to know what they're saying.
That's
you know.
exactly right.
We're sounding awfully old, Barbara. We're sounding like a couple
Yes,
of old fogies
but you
here.
know we're young old.
Well, we're young at heart, I
There
guess.
you go. That explains
and
it.
isn't that
Young at heart.
That's what's the line. If you didn't know how old you were, how old would you be? You know. So.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, it's been an honor being with you. But I love doing these concerts. I love singing these love songs of World War II. I'm afraid in 10 years from now I won't be able to do it, because nobody will care or know or
Well,
remember or anything else. So
That's quite possible.
I'm
But
thrilled.
now you've moved back here?
Well, yeah, I live down in Orange County.
Oh, you live now.
I drove
in
up from San Clemente today. Well, I'm also doing a concert this afternoon
Yes.
up here, so I
Okay,
double-dipped, stopping by to see you.
Well, I'm so glad you did.
I am too. You're doing such a great service. I'm glad there's something for seniors on the radio.
Oh, yes. Yes. Dr. Gene Dorio, he's a gerontologist and a great guy, absolutely a great guy. And he had something else come up today and couldn't be here. And he is. We make a good team. We've been doing this now for almost 13 years.
Good for you.
And we
You
love
started
it.
when you were young.
Yeah. Started when I was young. That's very true. Well, do you have time to plunk one more time?
I do.
Before
Do
we say
have
goodbye?
time? Sure. Let me
Yes.
see.
1 minute.
Here's a song from World War II written by Charlie Chaplin, believe
whoa,
it or
whoa.
not. 1944. Smile though your heart is aching.
Oh, my goodness.
Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. If you light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness.
And Mike, we have to put an end, unfortunately, to that beautiful song. Thank you so much
It's
for
my
joining
honor.
us,
Thank you for
Mike.
having me.
We really enjoyed it. You've been listening to the Senior Hour on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.